Sige. So, when you talk about buffs and debuffs, um, it's kind of weird and complicated because you're gonna have to think who is handling what in that with the buffs and debuffs. So imagine natin si enemy. Si enemy, what you want is you want to give a burn, right? So itong si burn na to, which is damage over time. Tapos it will last for a duration of let's say 10 seconds. So this would be like maybe 5 damage per second. Ganun. Alright. Tapos after 10 seconds, mawawala tong burn na to. Mawawala yung damage over time. The question is, who should be handling this? So back in Gamprog 1, may mga daming tanong like who should handle the Gamprog whatever. There are multiple answers. The simplest one because was to just have the enemy handles the burn, right? This is the simplest answer to it because uh parang ano na you don't have to create other API whatever. But the problem with this is when you start creating different buffs. Like you have slow, you have what else? Let's say we have different kinds. We have acid. So iba pa yun, which is like lower defense or something. Um Sige, ano pa ba? Ano pa bang debuffs you guys can think of? Yeah, slow's here. Right? So slow, acid, burn, pa ba? Sige, yun na lang muna. Stun. Pwede, stun. Right, that's a good debuff. Right? If you think about other debuffs and what we did was have enemy handle all the debuffs, lahat to, it's all gonna stack and kawawa si enemy because he's handling all of this. So in his code, meron siyang like timer. Gagawa pa siya ng timer for like burn. Tapos may iba pa si slow, gagawa rin siya ng timer. Si acid, gagawin siya ng ibang timer, etc. etc. And enemy gets bloated, basically. Ang dami na niyang uh, kailangan niya gawin. And it just keeps going and going the more debuffs you have. Not only that, siguro let's say may enemy tayo or something that gives buffs to his fellow enemies. E di may parang speed, speed, speed up, right? So may speed up siya, may power up, or lalakas siya. Oh, isa pa yun. Enemy's gonna handle all of this. It gets really bloated and sobrang gulo na yung ano ng uh, class nyo. Mas lalo pa sa blueprint, di ang daming mga lines kung saan saan na lang pupunta. Right? Going there, whatever. So, it gets really messy. So, ayun nga. Kaya sabi ko, it was okay lang with burn and slow. But, it's not a great idea when you start stacking up other kinds of debuffs and buffs. Okay? So, yung iba, nagsuggest, si Sia, nagsuggest ng actor component, which is actually one of the better ideas to handle buffs and debuffs. Pero we can take it up a notch by having something else handle it, right? So let's say, yung kay Sia, let's say, y- sir, ano yung overload? Overload is when the towers naman, yung towers gets a buff. bibilis yung attack speed niya and I think damage. Yung mga ganun. Basta binubuff niya yung ano, yung tower. So okay. So instead of having enemy, let's bring that back up. Instead of having enemy handle it, what if we have a actor component handle it? So this means you have a separate class that handles yung mga debuffs. So, or buffs or debuffs, right? So, let's say si actor component, gumawa tayo ng parang uh, a base class na, let's say, debuff component. Tapos in here, andito yung ano, andito yung inside the debuff component, you have like duration, tapos um, parang action or event or mangyayari or whatever happens every something seconds, I guess, for like mga damage over time, right? Or parang may on activate and on deactivate. So this is just ano, samples lang. Okay? So I think usual it can work because what happens is we give the component, let's say our bullet. Let's say our bullet hits our enemy. And then itong bullet na to is parang meron siyang ano, kung anong buff or debuff ang bibigay niya. So it hits the enemy. What it does, it will give the enemy a debuff component of whatever it is. Let's say si Burn. Ibibigay niya si Burn. So Burn now is under enemy. It's under as a actor component and it's handling all the like damage over time. Tapos it'll handle also kapag it'll delete itself after the duration. Right? So pwede yun. It's a good idea actually. But what happens if another bullet hits him? So wala natin itong bullet to. Wala na yung bullet niyan. He's still burning. What if another laser hits him again? So if another laser hits him again, ano dapat mangyari? Should they stack? Based on our game. Yeah. It will reset the burn time. Right? I-reset niya and it's gonna go back from, let's say, 5 seconds. Babalik ulit siya sa 10 seconds. And it will still continue to burn. But how does it know? How does the bullet know that the enemy has burned? So imagine na lang, you have a bullet, it's gonna hit the enemy. Supposedly, it's gonna give a burn, but since may burn si enemy, ang gagawin lang niya is to reset the enemy's burn. But the question is, how does the bullet know that the enemy has a burn? Let the enemy have a bull? Mm-hmm. What else? Sige. We'll start with this muna. Let enemy have a bull. So, the moment you give enemy a bull yan, what happens is, kailangan meron siyang, let's say, okay, is burning. Right? But now you have to have checks for everything. Is slowed. Is acid. Is stunned. right? Not only that, let's say yung mga buffs rin. Gagawin rin siya sa mga buffs. Is sped up, is powered up, etc. etc. So, not really a bad idea, pero parang almost the same thing as this, except that at least it's not as complicated as this one, right? Pero, ayun nga, each time when we have a new um, buff or debuff, we have to edit enemy every time. Parang nalagyan ng boolean. So, ayun. Set a lifespan. Kung set lifespan, ang tanong is same thing. Oh wait. Set lifespan. Kung nalagay natin kasi si lifespan si burn, same thing. Paano niya malaman na bullet na kailangan i-reset yung lifespan nito? Okay. Burn accurate reference check. If null. So this means si bullet will check si component for if the component has a like a burn debuff or burn component, right? Delete the old one, make a new one. Same thing. If you're going to delete the old one, bullet still has to know, right? So anyway, balik tayo kay Federican. So what happens with that is bullet will now have to search. He will now have to search si actor kung meron siyang burn, 'di ba? Or at least whatever yung let's say si bullet natin. Sige, let's just put it up here. Si bullet natin, meron siyang parang uh, burn debuff class, right? So let's say our bullet has a class na parang burn lang or siguro more general, just a debuff class, which is yung component. Mangyayari is when the bullet hits the enemy, it now has to search the enemy if meron siyang component na that is equal to debuff class. And then kung meron, it will reset whatever, etc. Right? So, yeah, okay rin siya. Okay rin siya kung ganitong idea. But there is an ultimately better way pa to do so in doing so. Instead of having to check if the enemy has the debuff class, there's a better way.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
This is a bit more on milestone 3, but I just realized like the whole I know it mentioned that you want a projectile C++ class, right?
It says there.
But I wonder, in theory, wouldn't it be more, I don't know, if it efficient to not to just make it array class or something similar
To
rather than having to make
a
a separate what?
sorry, what?
Like I was thinking like the whole like making a projectile, like it feels like won't it just end up creating more like actors in the map per se?
What about?
Like I wonder if it's like efficient to really make bullets and not just simply make the tower attack the enemy directly.
Yes. But the thing is, Unreal is actually capable of doing that. It was actually made to handle uh yung mga like pooling set object pooling, whatever. It is made to handle these types of games. So we make use of this by using these bullets, by having it spawn and destroy. See, kaya ni Unreal yun eh. It was made for this. Alright. So ayun. That's why better. I mean, for this project, we'll make use of that by having to spawn a projectile. Okay? Does that
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Okay.
Okay. Sige. Now back. Uh, Redactor. How about delete the old one, make a new one? Yeah, same thing. I mean, yes, tapos destroy mo. But yeah, same idea. Okay. So anyway, another idea. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying this is bad. This is a. It's good rin. I mean, this is definitely way better than uh having enemy like handle all of this and or maybe handling all of this. Right? This is better. Another way that we can do is to have a handler for it. What does that mean? Yung handler na to is responsible in taking in buffs and managing yung ano yung mga um, buffs or debuffs that are happening for that enemy or tower, right? So that will for this it will be a actor component. So it will be called a for now we call it a buff handler. So si buff handler component si buff handler component is just responsible for receiving receive receive buff or debuff. Tapos may parang buff. Isa pa yun. Ikaw pa tayo ng buff class. Buff. Buff. Alright. So si buff handler, this will be in every enemy. So what happens is, when bullet hits the enemy, it'll just say, okay, okay, and I get the buff handler of this enemy, and tell him na I want to deal this debuff. So mga i-receive niya to, and then it will handle what the buff will do. Meaning, under this function, it's check niya. Checks for all buffs. Check niya lahat ng buffs. Kung nahanap niya, kung meron, kung merong yung buff niya, if buff is present in buffs, no, pwede niyang gawin is like what happened? Yeah, so if there is a buff in the array of buffs, it can just uh like reset timer ng buffs. Okay. Or what if literally this buff is actually stronger or mas malakas? Then pwede na i-compare yung dalawang buffs na yun. If this buff is, let's say, you have burn 2 or something. If this buff is better than the other buff, edi i-override na lang niya. I-delete niya itong yung buff sa array. Then it will just give a new buff. Does that make sense? So, not just buff handler, we'll have like a buff class, which is, it can just be an empty actor. And then it can have a handler. Para lang malaman niya kung who's managing the buff class. So what happens is, si buff class will actually handle yung timer niya. Ito yung duration. Ito yung so parang siyang itong debuff component. Pero it's a separate class. So may siyang action event that happens every, I don't know, something seconds on activate, on deactivate. So all we did is, itong si buff handler, siya na yung bahala kung anong gagawin sa current ng mga buffs or debuffs ni enemy. And then si buff class will do whatever needs to be done to the enemy or handler. Okay? Does that make sense? Or is it medyo medyo di nyo nagigets? So nangyari is si Bullet, he does not have to check anymore si enemy. Basta sasabihin niya sa enemy, kukunin niya yung buff handler, and sasabihin niya, okay, receive this buff or debuff. And si buff handler is the one that handles na kung anong gagawin. Kung i-reset ba yung buff, kung ibibigay lang yung buff, or i-change na yung buff kasi mas malakas pa yung burn or something, or slow. Alright? And pwede niya, ito, pwede na niya i-handle. Let's say, after duration, mag-end siya. He will shoot a event dispatcher that where buff handlers, listening to. And then, gagawin niya na parang end buff or something, etc. Ayun. Tatanggalin niya sa ari niya of buffs. And, ayun, there you have it. Yan yung, one of the other ways of handling yung buffs. Nakuha niyo ba? Do you need some other explanation? We're gonna code it naman. I'm gonna code it. We'll just stick to blueprints for this. A bit overwhelming. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it is a bit. I mean, it's like this, but one step further by having this. Kasi actually, yeah, there's another way rin kasi, pero I won't discuss it. Where si tower mismo handles the debuffs. So what does that mean? Yung bullet natin, instead of having like yung debuff whatever, what he has is like owner. Owner meaning kung saan galing yung bullet nito, like kung anong tower. Okay? So what happens is when bullet hits the enemy, it tells the owner that I have hit this enemy, and then tower is listening to that, and I mean, not really listening, but it will do something with like on enemy hit. Tapos andito yung enemy. So this is another way. I'm not gonna discuss it, pero pwede rin to eh. Mangyari is si tower na yun ang bahala kung anong gagawin. So let's say you have yung EMP tower. So what happens is it will override the on enemy hit, and then underneath it, on enemy hit, gagawin niya kung anong gagawin. Like yung generation or something. Ay, pangat pala. Oh, EMP tower. Si laser na lang. Laser tower. Ayan. So it will do whatever, like yung duration and something. Only problem with this is I think it would only work for one enemy. mawawala yung duration na to. Itong duration. Parang, the moment it changes the enemy, parang hindi na, wala nang burn na mangyayari. Kasi, the laser tower is handling the burn for another enemy. So, ayun. Parang you're limited lang to one enemy. Okay? So yeah, this is another way na rin. Okay. Questions? Questions? Which is better handling buffs, sir? Yung first or second? Yung ito ba yung first na sasabi ko? First? For handling buffs, well, in our case kasi, isa lang yung buff natin for the towers, which is si Overload. Right? Kaya medyo madaya, pero you can, in that case kasi, you can just go directly in giving, just directly giving, having the tower handle it. Pero kasi if you have more buffs besides the Overload, this would be a good idea na rin. Where each tower has also a buff handler and i-handle niya yung mga buffs. Tapos itong yung mga buffs, kapag walang duration, that means it'll just forever be working. Kaya nga may deactivate ako. Okay. So yeah. Madaya kasi overload. Isa lang yung buff natin. Kaya okay lang. Pero in the enemy's case, we have burn and slow. Is that all? Burn, slow. Burn, slow, and even yung additional money. Technically, it's a buff. So, we can, pwede yun. Pwede i-gawin to. Okay? Any questions? Sige, no questions. So, we can code it through Blueprint. So, gawa tayo. So, we have components here. And then, sa actors, gawa tayo ng buffs. Oops, sorry. Buffs. We'll start muna sa buffs. So, you'll notice that we're just going to use an empty actor. That means it doesn't have to be seen on the game, but you can always have an empty actor in-game kapag may gagawin siya. Like sa iba, ang ginawa nila is may build manager sila. Yeah, they have a build manager na actor. And it's just in-game. And pwede yun. So parang sa build manager, meron siyang yung mga functions for building towers and stuff. But it's just invisible. So again, there's nothing wrong in that. In having these types of actors na parang wala silang mesh or whatever, but they're in the level. So okay, buff. So si buff, we have like duration. Oops, that's function. We have a duration, a float. Yeah, yun. Then we have like on activate, on deactivate, what's the other one? Action event. Actually, we should have another one. Not just duration, but action. Let's say interval. Action interval. So action interval, parang siyang it will happen every something seconds. Ito. it will call action event every something seconds. Am I missing anything? None. Okay. So in code, what I can do is duration. Let's say default value is 10. So duration, ima-minus ko parate with data seconds. So every frame, nagdi-decrease tong duration based on data seconds. Right. Reset. Reset timer. Wait lang. May inisip ako. Duration, action interval. Gawin natin original duration. So original duration, we'll just keep it private para di makita ng iba. Which is set natin at the very start. So we can use that. We can use this float when we want to reset the timer. So if you reset the timer, we just bring it back to its original duration. Okay. Then what happens is if ang duration na is less than or equal to 0, we will deactivate this. And then inisip ko kung kailangan ba natin ng sige na. Gawa tayo ng event dispatcher. Deactivate. And then let's just give it a input of itself. Buff. So we call deactivate. We also call on deactivate. This is self. So this is kind of looking like our Gamprog 1. We're calling it self. Pero may use to. Okay? So on deactivate. Ito naman on activate. So this too, it's not always going to be used for everything. Pero it's good to have it kasi later on we can just override it kapag kailangan natin. And then etong si action event, yeah, I think we'll just make it simple by creating a set timer by event. And then this is the create event. And then C action interval is the delay. We make it loop. Is that it? Ayan, okay. So all we did is on begin play, it'll just call on the activate and then it will run this action event. Let's just put this in just in case. If it is less than or equal to 0, let's not run it just to save some processing power. Let's make this greater than. If it is greater than 0, ayan, we'll make it do the action. Okay? So event tick, it's always checking. Para siya nagdi-decrease ng duration. Then if it finally reaches less than or equal to 0, it will call on deactivate and then also call a event dispatcher. Actually, di mo natin kailangan ng event dispatcher. Hold on. Yeah, sige. We'll just keep it. Okay. So we have that's our buff. Let's go create our our. Oh wait, let me just check. Okay, let's go create our buff handler naman, which is a actor component buff handler. So what this does, it has a receive buff na may input siya of the buff class. Buff class. So what's gonna happen is, i-receive niya, but first we have to check kung if we are running any buffs at all. So this is our array of buffs. Buff. So is there contain? Hold on. I have to look for contains. See, ito na lang. For each na lang natin. For each, we get the class. And then we can compare. So if it contains a receive buff, wait lang, let me just add this. Has buff. So this is a local variable. This local variable, di siya makakita outside of this function. See? It is only here. So kung meron siya, ang gawin natin is, we'll set this to true because I will need it later on. It has, and then what we will do is just reset the timer. So wala pa dito yung check ko kung ano, kung mas malakas pa siya, because we can do that later on. Pero simplest for now is every buff is the same level, parang level 1. Okay? So ang gagawin niya is check niya lahat ng current buffs. If it has a buff with the same buff class, i-reset lang niya yung timer. So ito, yung has buff na to, I need it here sa completed. Bakit? Kasi kung meron siyang buff na, I don't have to do anything. Okay? I don't have to do anything. Kung wala, this is when I spawn an actor with this class. And then for spawn transform, I'll just split it. I will always spawn. And then I add it into my array. Okay? Okay? And then we also do yung ano ito? Para matanggalin natin. In here we have the deactivate. I want this to remove buff, which is, it has a buff na actor buff. I'm just gonna just remove it. Remove. That's it. So in here, create event. and then remove buff. Ayan. So, if we call receive buff, what it does, it checks the whole buffs if may parehas na class. Kung meron man, I will just reset the timer. Then, after checking everything, kung wala pa rin in case na wala pa rin class na parehas sa buffs, instead, I will spawn that buff and then add it in my array and then deactivate. Okay? So, yung kulang ko dito is handler pala. Handler. So, I need this because what if I want to do something inside the action event? Like I want to deal damage. I can use the handler. Get actor or get owner and then cast to cast to enemy. This is supposed to be like inside inside mga burn. Hey, yeah, yung mga burn or other debuffs. Okay, etc. etc. So that's how I get the enemy. So anyway, here I set it also in here, the set handler. And then this is self. Ayan. Has buff, doesn't have any buff. Spawn, add it in my array. If not deactivate, I'll just remove it from the array. And then I set the handler. Okay, okay. So that's my two. That's my two classes. This should be enough for me to do yung mga buffs. Any questions? So all I did here is to just translate yung ito. Translate ko lang, we have a handler, we have duration. Ginawa ko lang dito sa blueprint. Which is, ayun nga. Siya yung ito yung on activate. This happens every action interval. And then deactivate. You also have to reset timer. You also have the handler here. Ayan. Questions? Okay. So, testing natin. So, si enemy, lagyan natin ng buff handler. Ayan. So, may buff handler siya. And then, gawa tayo ng burn. Si burn, it is a child blueprint of yung buff. This is burn debuff. Override natin yung sabi yan, event am I blind? Wait. Action event. Action event. So this will happen every let's say every half a second. So 10 divided by half 10 divided by 0.5, this will happen 20 times within the duration. So yung gawin natin, handler, ay sige, gawin natin na lang, wait lang, hold on. Handler is called afterwards. Okay, sige. We just work with it. We have handler here. We have the owner. I will cast it to the enemy. This will be enemy. Now the question is, did I put take damage? I'll get my health component. I will go take the damage. Oh my god. Let me just double check my health component. Di ko ginawang... Yeah. Okay, let me just compile. Yeah. So take damage. Let's say 20 times. I'll just make it deal 2 damage every time. Error, hot reload. Sige, wait lang. I-close ko lang to. Kapag hot reload, the cause is because I did it on while we were while we were working on it. So you have to just close your Unreal and then open it up again. And that will fix the hot reload.
Which is yeah.
Ano, little company tayo mamaya. Joke lang. Burn debuff. Compile. Okay. Take damage too. Okay. Testing natin. Wala pa wala pa akong enemy here. So I will just wala pa akong tower. Di ko pa ginagawa. So here's my enemy. So for now, I'm just gonna give him directly. Let's put a delay. Delay of just 1 second. This is just for testing purposes, okay? So what happens is, dapat si bullet, it will take the buff handler of enemy and then receive buff. Tapos i-receive niya yung burn. So check natin. Let's go to health. Hopefully nakakita niyo yung yung health na to. I hope it's not blurry. Sige, play. So we wait for 1 second and we should be able to see that it's decreasing. And I think it should only decrease until 40. It's not stopping. Hold on. It's not stopping. Hold on. Saan na yun? Ah, right. Destroy. Well, pwede rin to. Pwede rin. Sige. Buff will destroy itself. Okay, balik. So si enemy should stop at 60. 20, 40. Yeah, 60 dapat. Okay, fine. 62. 62 because hindi to itong timer natin sa buff. Hindi to nag-run right away. So, ayun. If you want it to run right away, let's put an action event right here. Okay. So, balik ulit. Where's my... And slowly decreasing. And then it should stop by 60. Hayop na yun. Okay. Wait. Cast enemy. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Kasi, okay, I received this error because empty pa si enemy. Bakit? Because nauna pa tong si begin play kesa tong nasan yung receive buff na yan? Components. Ito. Mas nauna si begin play kesa to. That is why. So, you know what? Okay, fine. It can just be like that. Activate. Hold on. Activate. There's a way to fix it. There's a way to fix it. Kind of lazy to do it, pero it's something like having instead a set handler here, which will also call everything else like on activate or something. Yung mga ganun. Or actually, pwede rin to inside in here. So there's so many ways to do this. Okay. Yeah. What else pa? We can also do the slow. Gawin natin yun, si slow. Gawa tayong blueprint ulit. Slow. Debuff. So ito naman, I'll just put it on activate. On activate, I will now get the handler. I'm gonna have a problem here. Handler, cast to enemy. Sorry, get owner pala. Get owner, cast to enemy. And then let's get its movement. Get character movement. Si yung top speed, walk speed. Ikakalahati na lang natin to. Max walk speed divided by 2. Ayan. Then, on deactivate naman, dapat ibalik natin yung speed niya or else they'll be stuck being slow. So whatever I did in activate, I can just do that in the deactivate. But this time, instead of dividing it by 2, I will multiply it by 2. Alright. Oo nga pala, no? Wala tayong code, no? Na i-manually call deactivate. Hold on. Where's my buff? Sige, ang gawin na natin is we'll just put this inside here. I'm doing this because in case nga na we're not using, where's that? In case we're not using duration, which I forgot to add in here. Hold on. Event duration if the duration is nope. Branch. if the duration is greater than 0. I'm pretty sure this won't destroy anything naman that we have. Okay. So only if the duration is greater than 0, that's when I minus it until ma-deactivate siya. But if we manually deactivate it, I should also call deactivate and then destroy actor. Okay? Ayusin ko rin yung yung on activate because I know I will have a problem. Ito, ipasok na lang natin to sa on activate. And then, what we can do is instead of buff handling this, gawin natin si buff handler na lang ang taga-handle nito. Which means in here, they should have on activate. Whatever, just put it down here. So, this will actually fix yung problema ko kabalo ko. Pero, anyway. Ayan. On activate, deactivate. Okay, sige. Tama yan. So, supposedly, if the enemy enters the EMP range, mangyari is EMP will get the buff handler of the enemy and then i-receive niya itong slow. Then if the enemy gets out of range, or in this case, let's say lagyan natin na delay. This is just like parang simulation. So, pumasok siya yung enemy sa EMP. So, EMP gives the buff handler is slow. And then, kapag lumabas si enemy sa EMP range, kailangan dapat ma-deactivate. So, you should have that also. Deactivate buff. So it's almost like receive, but in this case, buff. Kailangan lang niya hanapin for each. Get class. If it is equal to this buff, I will deactivate that buff. Deactivate. Okay? So that's all I have for deactivate. Kasi kailangan rin pala natin kapag mag-exit si enemy from EMP. So deactivate the buff, which is yung slow. Hold on. Hello. Sorry. Buff na class. Yan. So that's all it does. It will just deactivate yung buff. So, i-testing natin. Oops. Play. Pause this for a bit. Let's go to the speed. Walk speed. Nasa 600 ngayon. Play natin to. After 5 seconds, it should be around 300. Ayan. And then after 5 seconds again, 600. Okay? So, yun lang naman for ano. Yun lang for buff API. Actually, medyo may naisip nga ako eh. So, paano nga yung stacking? Yung mga stacking buffs and debuffs, right? Stacking buffs and debuffs. Paano nga ba yun? For, let's say there are 2 EMPs on an enemy, and dapat only one of it should work, right? And then if an enemy exits one of the EMPs, dapat the other one should still work. Ano yun? API, handler. Technically, si buff handler pa rin yung may tagahawak nun eh. Buff handler. Dapat may count. Hold on. May inisip ko lang. Count or buffs. Actually, pwede din naman yun. Si buff handler, instead of classes, it actually has, instead of the actual actors, kasi ito yung mga na-spawn eh, could also have like buff classes, which are this is medyo more complicated na, pero we have to do it. Mangyayari is, if you receive a buff, we just add it right away. It's an ugly color. Add it here. Kung ano mang buff na yun. And then, when you deactivate, so you remove. How many will it remove? Oh my. It will remove all.
instances. No.
Yun nga eh. Di ba dapat remove items yun? All instances. Hey, we can technically just remove one. So, you get my point. It gets a bit complicated na when you start thinking. Pero, in this case kasi, it's not enemy na who's handling it. We're now, ang problem natin is just under buff handler. Another way kasi, I also don't like it. Pero, may struck ka. Mas struck of, take buff and then amount of, ganun. Pwede. Kaya niyo ba yan? Yeah. So, ayun. Hold on. May array. Pwede kasi yun. Gagawin natin ng parang struct to. Just to check if there are other actors. I mean, there are other EMPs that are overlapping the enemy. That's one. Other is... there are other ways to solve it. Kayo na bala dun. Okay. Any questions? Okay. May problema. It's all items eh. Hindi niya yung tatagalin ng just one. Is there any, buffs? I mean, you can get the index of one of like that has the same ano. Eh, yeah. Get array. Sige, yun lang muna. Other way nga, yeah, the other way nga, it could be using an array of buffs. Ito parang it holds all the buffs talaga that are in effect, and then we just remove it kapag natanggal nito or something. Yeah, and then there are multiple ways to deal with that. Hmm. Okay, sige. Any questions? Hopefully, nag-gets nyo naman yung itong part na to, besides the overlapping EMPs. Usually, that's a problem naman talaga for everything. Kahit di lang EMP eh, kahit yung for the gold, isa pa yun, yung gold. Alright, any questions? Game manager ba? Different placing it. Generally, game mode should be handling, para siya yung game manager. Pero, it's not also bad rin to have a different manager. Like, si game mode handles, like, game over, whatever. And then, game manager handles how the spawn goes. Pwede rin yun eh. That can work as well. Build manager. Yeah. Okay. Build manager. Well, okay, maybe you can just rename. Pero okay lang. Okay lang na iba yung itong si build manager from the game mode. Yeah, it actually complicated to rename yung mga the classes. The one way to do it is I'll just show you guys just to see how complicated it is lang. Close that. Ay, joke lang, dapat binuksan ko yung Explorer first. So, mangyari kasi if you want to rename, you have to like rebuild the solution after you rename. So like you have to delete these. These are like things that are actually, if you notice, they're get ignored. Hindi kasama tong mga to. Kasi they're actually built by Unreal when you run the project. So delete that. Si source, let's rename si ito. Si tower base tower. Let's name it tower base. Oh, ano? Would this actually work? Tower. Feel ko hindi. Oh, ano? I think this only works pala for deleting. But, you know what? Let's see. Feel ko hindi. Feel ko mag-error to. So what I'm doing is I'm building the Visual Studio project. And then I open this to rebuild. So we give it some Okay, yeah, you cannot. You can delete. Okay, okay. I don't know why. Let's open the solution. It's gonna say because there's a missing tower. Or if not missing tower, si tower base, yung tower ko, yung CPP file, it's supposed to include tower.h. But since I renamed it, hold on, tower base, uh, no, pala. Si tower base.cpp. This one. I don't think I used tower anywhere else, I think. So, yung mga nagka-error before, ayun. Meron pa nga. Tower base. I'd be surprised if this works. Yung way ko pala is if you want to like delete pala, if you want to delete source uy, nag-build. If you want to delete scripts, that's one way. As long as wala kang scripts that are trying to access that. So tower, it's called tower, but you know what? Yeah, you don't have to rename mode when you name. You just call it game mode. But yeah, it's a bit complicated to do those stuff in Unreal. Really? Hindi siya nag-ano. Yeah, just stick with the name. Okay, any questions? It's like the last week na. Bukas, not bukas pala. 14 yung ano, 14 yung deadline nyo. 14, 1 p.m. So, you guys should have, you should, right now, I'm currently checking nga yung mga ano, submissions ng iba. Still in the process of checking it pa rin. But, yeah, I hope you guys learned something today about buff APIs that, you know, it doesn't have to be handled by enemy lang. And you can actually use this knowledge for still tower. You can use this knowledge rin kasi for other things na para di lang kayo ma-constrained sa whatever you have, right? So you can have actors that are just empty. Wala silang ano, wala silang mesh, but they have a use. Like, yun nga, like sa buff. Alright? So, that's it lang for today. If you aren't able to get until, as long as you did project 1, you should have, you will have a chance of, passing. Is it chance? You will Pasado pa rin as long as neat lang yung code nyo and stuff. Project 1 until M3, I think you need to... Oh, let's just do some math here. Calculator. Project until M3, that is 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. And then until, let's say, yung build nyo, sige, 4 plus 5 plus 7. This is M1, M2, M3. M4, M5, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kaya pa, I think. M5. If you get... Kasi 32 yung build eh, which is... This is just yung aesthetics and everything. Kaya pa eh. Yeah, 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. That's M3 of Project 1. This is for milestone 1. Oh no. 14. Milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3, milestone 4, milestone 5. Yeah. Because you just need... Oh no. 48 minus 70. You just need... Oh my gosh. 48 minus 70. 22. Oo. Kaya naman. Like, medyo iyak lang ako sa pag grade ko sa build. Kasi you don't really have anything. Pero, kaya pa naman. M5. Medyo pasang-awa na to actually. If you did until M6, at least hindi yun pasang-awa. 9. You just need 13 from the build. I could like give you half grade of the build. And at least that kind of works. Okay. Yung build kasi may rubric siya of let me just open it up. Ayan o. May rubric siya of code quality, aesthetics, and UX. And the thing is, I can't really give UX kapag wala kang game. Right. Code quality, I can, sure. Aesthetics, kung nilagay mo ng yung models lang, and you use it, I can give aesthetics. At least a decent level, sure. Yes, that's 15 plus 7.5. 10 plus 5 plus 5. Yeah, that should be easy. Kahit na, let's say, bigyan kita ng 15 for code quality. And then, I just give you like half points for aesthetics and UX. That's plus 25 na. And add in yung... Ano kinuha ko? 49? Was it 49? Yeah. Kaya pa yan. Okay? Okay yung mga... Just keep doing it. Just keep working on your game. Kaya niyan.
But then,
We still have to provide the build parent. Not really. You don't have to provide the build because there's no game. I can just look at it and zero now. All right. Any other questions? What if you add a menu? Will that bump up the grade? Will that go under marketable quality after a few polishing? Maybe. EX inconsistent. Maybe. You know what? It could either go here or here instead of like 5. Pero pasang awa talaga yun. Pero, yeah. What if you add a menu from M7? Wala. I can't give upgrades to your other milestones until you can do the previous milestones. If you're gonna reach M7, might as well reach M6, right? Yeah, go lang. Do you see that? You see how many people just passed? Come on, guys. M5. M6 upgrading. Uh, yeah. What's the? I
Where
mean,
is it?
you have time. You have 24 hours, 12. You have
But
16.
but
They're
blue
40 hours. 40 hours. Is it 40 hours? Yeah, 40 hours. Kaya niyan. So, go lang.
Sir, pamasko nyo na lang sir hanggang M4.
And I really pushed it until here. In-extend ko na ngayon to 14. Yun yung pamasko, 14. It's supposed to be only until 13. Bonus points, Christmas gift. Pag-isipan ko.
again.
Pag-isipan ko itong Christmas gift niya. Wala kayong Christmas gift sa akin. Yung Christmas gift niyo, late na.
Yeah.
Okay? Sige. Any more questions? Concerns? Wow. This feels like what's that word? Blackmailing.
Sir,
Yes.
I was hoping, are you still available for personal consultation later or tomorrow pa?
Not later. Tomorrow, yeah.
By what time?
Mga afternoon pa.
What time
One.
afternoon?
1 to
Sige,
6.
because I want to meet you tomorrow lang, if that's okay.
Sige. And
Thank you.
for me, kasi
Also, when will you post the video for this?
later. I'll post it later.
Thank you.
Okay. So, any more questions? I'm gonna post this on both sections. All good na? You guys gonna go back to working on your projects? Yes?
I hope so. So.
Sige, sir. Okay. Kaya niyan. Onti na lang. Basta milestone 5, you'll have a chance. Okay? Sige. So, if that's all for today, yung mga papakonsult, stay bahay lang muna. Okay?